Welcome to the Cryptosphere. This is Cryptogenic coming at you. Today is Saturday, April 24th at 2:54 p.m. here in sunny California. Today we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at this quote-unquote crypto crash, this pullback, this correction, whatever you want to call it. We're going to look at it from a more macro perspective. We're going to stop looking at 4-hour charts, 2-hour charts, 1-hour charts. We're going to look at 1-day charts and 3-day charts. And what we're going to see in looking at these charts is that when we pull back, this correction actually doesn't look like anything out of the ordinary at all. Let's start with Bitcoin. Looking at this Bitcoin chart here, I drew it a little bit differently this morning. Now, most of you know, if you watched my video a couple of days ago, the way I drew this chart was like this. And if you hide this line for a second and just think of it like this, then the breakdown out of here takes us down to $42,000. However, if you get rid of that line and you look at it like this, then we actually haven't broken down. We're finding support at the 100-day EMA. And if this is correct, then all this correction has been is simply the natural movement, the natural bullish movement within this chart. However, we are still seeing this bearish divergence in the RSI, meaning that each of these swings is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And Bitcoin's real correction is still yet to come. However, if this RSI bounces here and comes up again, if we get another bounce, we could easily see this price action bounce and come up again before we go into a deeper correction. So for now, looking at it from this perspective, there's an argument to be made for it still being bullish. It just all depends upon whether or not the RSI finds support here or if it breaks down beneath this line. Of course, the MACDs would need to turn bearish in that, the MACDs would need to turn bullish in that scenario, and they haven't done so. But when I started to look at the rest of the market from that perspective, I began to see the same thing over and over again. So for instance, Litecoin. If we redraw the lines for Litecoin, this pullback here for Litecoin doesn't look any different than this one and this one and this one. It's just the natural progression within this bullish channel that we're in. It was simply time for Litecoin to come back down and test this side of the candle of the trend. Now, looking at this trend, we touch the top, we touch the bottom, we touch the top, we don't quite touch the bottom, we don't quite touch the top, we touch the bottom, we touch the top. Here could be like this, where we don't quite touch the bottom, or it could go on down and touch the bottom. Who knows? Looks like in the RSI, we still got a little bit of ways to go down before we find support. So I think there's a good argument to be made, a good chance that we're going to come back down and touch the bottom here before Litecoin breaks off to another place. Also, I've been looking at Bitcoin Cash, BCH, same thing. If you pull out and look at this on the 3-day chart, we come up and touch and almost touch and come up and touch, a little bit in the middle, break below, come up and break above the top, and now we're coming back down to the middle. We could come down and touch again, or we can just kind of fake and come back to the top. We don't have to touch, but if you look at this from more of a macro perspective on the 3-day chart, this pullback that's happened in BCH is just a normal part of this bullish trend that we're in. Same thing with the XRP chart, except it's even more bullish on the XRP. On the XRP chart, we didn't even break down beneath this trend line in the RSR that we've been making since December 23rd, 2020. So we didn't even break down in the RSI beneath that trend. And all we did with XRP is come back into this bullish trend, which we had broken above. XRP is still in great shape. Cake, my new favorite. Cake is my new favorite token. I got to get some more Cake. Gonna get some more Cake. But Cake is doing great. Cake just decided to skip all of this mess. Could be that Cake touches the top here, comes back down to test the bottom, or Cake might just break above this and form a new trend altogether. Cake is very strong, folks. I'm definitely going to go deeper into Cake. and I think cake is strong. So I'm really excited about cake. Same thing with EOS here. It's just a trend. We touched the top, came down to the bottom, came up almost to the top, came down to the bottom, touched the top. Now we're coming back. We actually touched the bottom. We might come and revisit the bottom over here in the mid fours. But when you look at it from this macro perspective, all is well. Nothing is wrong. You just got to step back and take a look at things from a broader perspective. You see the same thing with Cardano. Nothing is wrong. Top, middle, almost to the bottom. Top, came back and touched the bottom. We wicked through the bottom, but came right back up above it. We haven't broken down there. All is well. Same thing with DGB. DGB, top. We hugged the bottom. Top. We came back and reached for the bottom. All is well. Theta Token. Theta Token is the same thing. We've just kind of been moving within this bullish trend, and we're moving upward. All is well. Dent, however, Dent is the only one I found so far that has broken down out of its macro trend and has corrected further than we anticipated. We actually almost came down to 4.8 cents. We actually came down to about 5 cents on Dent, and Dent has come back. It was up to almost 10 cents last night or this morning. So Dent is trying to pull back. I think Dent is going to definitely recover, in my opinion, and it's going to go on and reach a new all-time high. Same thing with Tron. We're just moving in this bullish trend. We might come back and touch the bottom before we go back off and reach for the top again. And finally, BCD. And so BCD, actually, the only difference I see here with BCD is that we're printing a bull flag here with BCD. And who knows how far down this is going to go. But as far down as it goes, I believe we're going to break out of here with BCD, and $4 kind of revisiting the top of this movement would be my next target for BCD. So, you know, when we don't look at things from the macro perspective, when we're constantly overly dependent upon the micro time frame, and we're just looking at things on a 4-hour chart, on a 2-hour chart, 30-minute chart, 15-minute chart. Most of us are hodlers, but we think like day traders. Day traders are the ones who are worried about what's going to happen in the next 4 hours. But hodlers, we shouldn't be worried about it at all. Now, I mean, it would be ideal to be able to say, okay, I'm going to sell every top and buy every bottom, sell every top and buy every bottom. The problem is, technical analysis is simply an analysis of the past. Technical analysis is not an analysis of the future, meaning until I get the full picture of what the past actually looks like. So before this happened, I drew this line up here. But once this happened, now I'm getting a fuller picture of the past, simply looking at what the chart is doing now. And based on what the chart's doing now, I think this is a likely scenario for Bitcoin. I think we can come down here and then make one more rise up here toward the top of this line before we break down into a real correction. That's my projection of the future based upon what the past has taught us to this moment, to this place. However, it shouldn't matter. You know, I think my wife is one of the best investors because my wife is just like, I was telling her last week, I said, baby, you know, Bitcoin, I think is going to go into a deeper correction, and you might want to cycle some of your Bitcoin into other assets. And she goes, so Bitcoin's going to correct? I said, yeah, I think so. She said, well, will it come back? I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. She said, will it surpass where it is now? I said, I believe so 100%. She goes, then I'll just hold it. I said, but it might correct 50%. She goes, who cares what it does in the short term? She's not looking at the chart. She's not worried about short-term price structures. For all she cares, it could correct 80%. She's still going to hold it because she believes in the long-term value of it. That's the way an investor thinks. In an investor's mind, if something dips, that's simply a great opportunity to buy more of it. When it hits high, you hodl. When it goes low, you buy the dip. And so we need to think more like investors. And isn't this just like life? I mean, I'm sorry, but when I look at these charts, I see my life. You know, when you're down here in these moments of life, It just feels like the bottom. And I mean, how many times have you felt that in your life? Like, I've lost everything and everything's falling apart and the bottom is falling out of this thing. Like, you feel like your life is about to break beneath the 100-day moving average. You feel like your life, like the RSI just broke under the bottom in your life. I mean, how many times have you had those moments in life where it just felt like all is lost? And then all of a sudden you get a burst of RSI, a burst of MACD, something works out, something turns around, and you move towards a new all-time high. And then you look back and realize that that experience where you felt like you were at your bottom, it was just a normal, natural dip within a broader, bullish progression that is your life. And even if your life goes into correction, we all go into correction sometimes, it's temporary. And so I think one of the biggest problems that I find with investing in cryptocurrency is that we tend to think about cryptocurrency in much the same ways we think about our lives. When we hit high points in our lives, we tend not to take them too seriously. But when we hit low points in our lives, we tend to believe that it's far worse than it actually is. And so I say all that to say, folks, the market is actually not in a bad place at all. I mean, if you look at this, and especially Litecoin, I mean, you know, I'm buying some Litecoin up here, and if it comes down here and tests this line down here, you know, let's say tomorrow or the next day it comes and tests this line down in the early 200s, I'm definitely buying more. We're definitely going to add more to our trading group. I'm waiting for this RSI to come touch this line here, and wherever Litecoin is at that point, that's where we're going to long more of it. I mean, we already got one position there. But it's exciting, guys. It's an exciting moment. And, you know, I just keep thinking about last year when we had that whole black swan event where the market looked like it was going to hell. That was actually the biggest opportunity of my lifetime, and I missed it because I was walking in fear. And that tends to happen in life in general. We miss the biggest opportunities of our lives because we're afraid. And so I just want to encourage us today just to rise above fear and grasp this opportunity. Grasp this opportunity of a lifetime. All right? Okay, folks, as always, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is simply my opinion, my perspective, and my personal plans. Secondly, with all of this being said, make sure that you do everything in your power to sleep in peace every night, wake in joy every morning, walk in love every day. Don't make any financial decisions that are going to rob you of your peace in the night, of your joy in the morning, or of your love during the day, because your relationships with your loved ones are far more important than your crypto profits. And so prioritize intimacy over personal profits. Can you do that? All right, folks. That is all I got for you today. This is Cryptogenic signing out.